In this video on Dorico 3, we are dealing with guitar tablature, and I'd like to cover options that affect the look of the elements I've covered in the first two videos. This first item is a quick review. I'm going to navigate to my layout options window. Players, fretted instruments, and we have four choices of viewing here, and we have them here as well. So we have tab, tab no rhythm, notation, and both, and we have tab, tab no rhythm, notation, and both here. Slightly out of order, but the same idea. Let's go down to vertical spacing. There's one element in here that is specific to tablature. Scrolling down here, notation staff to tablature is default as 6. I'll change that to 12, hit return. You can see we have a much wider gap here. Let me bring that back to 6 and get out of that. Next, let's go into engrave mode. And I'm navigating to engraving options, and we have some settings here that we can play with. Let's navigate down to staves, staff lines, and this particular value affects the distance between the lines in tablature. So we have this gap here. It's at 1.5. Let me bump it up to 4, and you can see quite a difference here. Let's drop it back to 1.5. We're back where we were. Additionally, you have a tablature page. This has a number of elements here. Let me move this just a little bit off to the side here so we can see some flags, etc. So you have a choice of default stem direction. Mine are going up. You can change it to go down. The stem end position, how far it penetrates into the strings, if you will. Some different settings there. You have basically the height of your stem above the tablature. You can adjust the gap between the bottom of the stem and the first string line. If you choose to have the stem go into the strings, you can adjust the gap there. If you've chosen to have your numbers circled, you can choose where the stem is at the left edge or in the center. You have grace note looks. You have rhythm dots. You can see I have outside staff selected. Let me go ahead and select next to notes for demonstration purposes. I'll go ahead and hit return. And you can see the look here. Let me do an undo. Brings it back to where we were. If you enable enclosures, this says for notes and chords longer than a quarter note, but that also includes a dotted quarter note. So not until you get to a half note will you get this. Let's change it to an ellipse. I'm going to go ahead and hit return to enable that. And let me get over here. And you can see I have this look now. Now I could adjust my look here with the stem in relation to the circle. And do an undo to get out of that. Same thing for if we have single notes. And you have the thickness value for your enclosure. Erase background around fret numbers. I have that selected, and if you look at this 0, you can see there is no line going through that. If I uncheck this and hit return to enable that action, you can see that the first string line goes through the 0. I'm going to do an undo and return it to the look. I like this look better. It looks a little cleaner. I have a number of choices about how your ties look. Let's bring all of them into the picture. And your tie appearance, whether it's a solid line or dash. Let's go ahead and create a tie. So we should see some in this area here. I'm going to change it, make it look like this, hit return. Let's make it dashed, hit return to enact that. And there we have that look as well. Let me go ahead and get out of this window. Lastly, we can go up to engrave, font styles. And one thing we can look at here is our tablature numbers font. Here I have Lotto. Let's go ahead and change this. Let's try Alvenir. Let me click OK and get out of this. And you can see a subtle difference. Let's try a different font. Let's try Baskerville. Click OK. The difference is a little more striking here. All right, here's the original. So that's all I'd like to cover in this video, and hope to catch you on the next one where I'll be going over bends and pre-bends and that type of expression for guitar.